I guess, unlike Castor Troy, Marvel Studios can't eat a peach for hours. Marvel Studios decided to quit Georgia for merry old England. International Business Times reports that Marvel is relocating due to higher labor costs in Georgia and better tax incentives in the UK, a move that will put nearly 20,000 jobs at risk. Quote, Georgia-based movie makers say they've been left scrambling for work as Marvel begins to end its long-standing relationship with the southern state. Dozens of TV shows and blockbuster films have been made by the Hollywood studio in Georgia recently. This includes titles such as Black Panther, Avengers: Infinity War, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Georgia's content pipeline has thinned sharply. 412 productions in fiscal year 2022 fell to 273 in fiscal year 2024 and 245 in fiscal year 2025, underscoring the slowdown that crews describe as the end of a boom era. Georgia's generous production tax credits, which offers a 20% base transferable tax credit for films costing over $500,000, were the reason Marvel filmed so many scenes in the state. Apparently, the exodus isn't limited to Marvel. Other studios also fled Georgia for better deals overseas. Ironically, this is exactly what happened to Los Angeles over the last 20 years. Rising production costs, labor costs, mostly wages, and location fees pushed studios to seek out other locations where they could save money with lower wages, fewer regulations, and bigger tax credits. That led many studios to Georgia. However, it turns out that in 2025, the UK proves to be the sweeter peach, mainly due to lower salary requirements and no need to provide employee health insurance. Because when you're running a movie set with tons of dangerous equipment, the last thing you want is for your crew to be insured. It's so shiesty, but you almost have to give Marvel Studios credit for being so upfront about it. Obviously, the move causes tons of problems for Georgia's film industry. It's not just empty studios and unused gear. Many people built their lives around that industry, and with work going overseas, that throws everything into disarray. Most people can't just pick up and move, let alone immigrate to another country. I can understand why one woman says she felt like a jilted lover, because she just got dropped in the middle of what looked like a deep, long-term romance. There is a chance that Marvel and other studios may come back. The article mentions that New York, California, and several other states are trying to change their tax credit systems to coax studios back to their states. But that will take time, and there's nothing stopping the UK from countering by offering a better deal. Now, that would be the end of the story if we lived in normal times. I could bemoan the idea of Marvel filming Spider-Man in London instead of New York City just to save hundreds of thousands of dollars per shot, because filming in New York is very expensive, just to turn around and spend slightly less money making a CGI New York City. When you say it out loud, it sounds like a really silly idea. Even though it is expensive to film in New York City, there's nobody else and nowhere else that looks like that city. Why not film there even if it does cost more money? You'll get so much to work with. And that would be a perfectly valid ending. But we don't live in normal times. So instead, I gotta talk about certain people getting a little testy now that that irony dick is whooping up on them. And IBT graciously provided an excellent example from crushing woke culture. Please, CWC, regale us with your pithy insights. Quote, Disney's Marvel abandons Georgia, taking livelihoods with it. They took the tax breaks, squeezed American workers, then ran overseas for cheap labor. Okay, so which is it, son? Did Marvel do Georgia a favor by giving the state loads of business and improving Georgians' livelihoods for 2 decades? Or did they exploit the workers and then cut and run when, let me check my notes, another country offered a better deal? Keep in mind, this is the same reason Disney went to Georgia instead of filming in Hollywood. Georgia offered better tax credits, lower labor costs, and likely fewer regulations, since it's a red state, which amounts to Disney saving money on production costs. That's capitalism, son. It's hypocritical to praise it when it benefits you, and then complain when it benefits someone else. But that's not my favorite part. The clown says, quote, the same studio that preaches equity just gutted middle-class families in the South. It's called capitalism, baby, not equity. Equity is about social fairness. It has nothing to do with where a company does business. Disney can still practice equity, in London. Disney is all about that money. And if you didn't know, now you know. Besides, you wanted to crush woke culture, they are crushing it by caring more about their bottom line than the people they employ. You're getting exactly what you wanted. Why are you complaining? But that's still not my favorite part. This is my favorite part. Quote, Trump's right. Tariff Hollywood. Make them pay for selling out America. So much for capitalism, huh? Your brilliant plan is to punish studios for not filming in the US. And you think this will make them change their minds, that they will want to do business with anyone who fucks with their money. Okay. Now, what this clown is talking about is his sex pest dear leader's plan to impose a 100% tariff on any film produced outside of the US. From the BBC, quote, Epstein's best friend says he wants to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again. This has led to questions about whether the tariffs would also apply to American film companies producing films abroad. We also don't know yet if the tariffs will be applied retrospectively. This is such a retarded idea that of course it comes from Donald Trump. The brilliant plan is to tax films made in other countries. So, what happens when it's a period piece and people want to shoot on location? What happens when the best spot for the movie or show isn't in the US? The only option would be for studios to build those sets in the US, which would be insanely expensive depending on the sets. If they were more expensive than the tariff, the studios might just take the hit, so there goes that idea. Or the studios could just forgo making the movie or show altogether. That would be the easiest way to get around that problem, and it would also nix the jobs that Pinche Chilito says he wants to bring back. Then you have foreign films that get distributed in the States. There goes the incentive to import those movies. And this wouldn't only affect theatrical releases. It also affects Blu-ray releases, meaning prices on foreign movies and shows would skyrocket. That'd spell disaster for companies like Arrow Video, Kino Lorber, and Criterion, who make a ton of money releasing foreign films, not to say the least about any company importing anime. Then you get to streaming services, which might be a loophole because of how films and shows get licensed. This could be a way for companies to get around the tariff. However, the side effect would mean fewer movies in theaters and more going direct to streaming, which would crush movie theaters. All this to try to force studios none of these people like to make movies none of them will go to see, so that the studios pay their workers wages none of these hypocrites even support. This is your brilliant plan. And keep in mind, these are the same people who applauded the idea of screenwriters, actors, and VFX artists getting screwed during the strikes because they thought that the cast and crew demanding fair wages was woke entitlement. They thought that the cast and crew should be paid less, which is ironically why Marvel Studios went to Georgia and are now going to the UK. But now here they are whining that Marvel wants to pay people less. Or in Georgia's case, not at all. They were all for this until they were the ones affected by it, so now they think it's bad. Incidentally, I don't agree with the move. I think it's a bad sign that Disney would rather film Spider-Man in London than New York purely to save money. This is a multi-billion-dollar company that gets money from a dozen different avenues. I think they could foot the cost for filming on location for their big tent movies. Like I said, nowhere else looks like New York. There are no other people in the world like New Yorkers. Film Spider-Man in New York. You will get more than your money's worth. That said, this is how business works. Hollywood has filmed elsewhere to save money, like in Canada, for decades. I've lost track of how many times something was set in Chicago, but I couldn't recognize any of the buildings because it was filmed in Toronto or Vancouver. This is nothing new. Studios care less about the people they employ than they do their bottom line. I wish that weren't the case, but it is. If studios can save a buck, they will do that over working with people they've worked with for 20 years, regardless of what everybody else on the production wants to do. This is the system people said they wanted. This is the system they bought into. So all I can say is, be careful what you wish for, because with Disney, wishes can come true. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.